Hi everyone, we've had a bit of a break since our last podcast entry. We've been pretty busy with the changeover from CrossFit Northumbria to method training, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to elaborate a little bit more on the transition from CrossFit Northumbria to method training and why we actually did it. So let's focus initially on Kilo and the benefits of removing strength training out of a strength and a conditioning focus and pulling more complex weightlifting movements into its own 1 hour session that you can do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So for me, I like to have a little bit extra time to warm up. I find that if I've got a piece in an hour-long workout and I'm trying to make the most of that, I'm only really feeling that I'm at the point where I'm ready to get some good work in. At the end of that session, at the end of that 15-minute block, I'm about there and I'm moving on to the conditioning piece. And for me, I find the Kilo sessions get me warmed up effectively, a really good technical piece before the main lifting section, and then there's squats 3 times a week, so it's not to like. What about you, Andrew?
I think the big change that for me, personally for my training and watching others in the classes that I've taken, both Kinetic and Kilo, to see people try and tackle developing a skill with an elevated heart rate in a conditioning piece, for example, with the older structure where we do a strength section to start with, then people trying to carry on developing that skill set whilst doing a conditioning piece with maybe an assault bike or a high skill gymnastic component before moving a barbell. That was really difficult, kind of stifled a lot of people's progress, not being able to develop that skill whilst under that sort of level of strain or fatigue. Whereas in Kilo, for me personally as well, moving the barbell with a much lower controlled heart rate, not as much of a rush to get to the barbell again, so a far more relaxed approach to picking up the bar and really focusing on a particular either pause section or a different approach to breaking down the complexity of a lift. I feel like I get a lot more benefit in watching people develop their skills in the Kilo classes. I think as a whole our community is developing a lot better with this approach. What about you, Mark?
What those guys said. Definitely I think having that, where your focus is on trying to improve how you're moving that barbell, not necessarily how many reps are you getting on board for the sugar bod side of it. So I think having the short snappy movements where we have maybe a tall clean at the start, where we're really looking to increase that speed, because you've kind of got that at the beginning and then you carry that into your main lifts. I think my lifts are certainly getting a little bit better because my focus is just on improving that barbell movement pattern. And then as Jamie said, the squat patterns in there all day, every day. I would squat every day if my body would allow us to.
King of the lifts.
Absolutely. Then I think as well, from the coaching side of it, again, I know sometimes people want to maybe save a little bit for that conditioning side, whereas now in the Kilo they're all in, and you're starting to see those strength numbers shoot up as a result of that. As opposed to maybe holding a little bit back because they want to maybe push a little bit more in the conditioning, because that focus is just on there. And people are starting to see a lot of benefit from that.
Yeah. I think what we were talking about before with skill acquisition, so the movements that we are doing in Kilo are typically more complex. They are Olympic weightlifting movements, even the powerlifting movements, we drill a lot of focus into them to try and make them perfect. We use accommodating resistance now, so banded work comes in a little bit more now we've got the racks. But in terms of acquiring new skills and perfecting them, we have a chance to do a solid hour knitted together rather than a 15-minute chunk at the beginning. And that solid hour allows for better skill acquisition, because we were discussing that 6-10 minute blocks of training will not produce the same effect as one 60-minute block.
I think to go beyond that, once you start to spend a little bit more time doing Kilo, whether it's refining one of the Olympic weightlifting movements, to then see people apply that in the Kinetic sessions, that's probably, I would say, the biggest improvement as a group we appear to be making. So for those that have maybe dedicated 1 or sometimes 2 days of the week to a kilo session, let's say for example cleans, when in a kinetic session a clean movement comes up, because the strength numbers are starting to creep up through the kilo work, whilst the barbell weight isn't coming up hugely in the kinetic session, they're able to move it under fatigue a little bit more consistently because the percentage of the weight they're moving from their max is a much more comfortable, manageable number. So over time, they're then improving in other areas, so the gymnastics is taking less of a hit because they're not as fatigued from the barbell. So the kind of knock-on effect there from what I see when I deal with the kinetic sessions, people moving the barbell better from kilo into kinetic makes other things improve
it's
as well.
more efficient. You know, definitely if you're going to do some ground overhead work in a kinetic session and you've been working on making the first pulls coming from the floor nice and tight to the leg, and you're contacting the thigh in the correct position and contacting the hip, and then you know how to effectively move your body and reposition underneath the bar, you're going to expend less energy during the ground overhead movement, which is going to give you a better workout in kinetic.
Yeah, I think agreeing. I know Andrew had said before, certainly what you touched on it. You've got that hour exposure where, like you were saying, if you had that 10 minute, you're like on the cusp of something about to click, and then it's like, right, okay, guys, that's what time we're going to move on to your conditioning. We're going to do cleans, but you're going to do it after you've just done a 50-calorie assault bike sprint, and you get off and you've now got no midline, and your head is now not currently thinking about, oh, am I going to keep this barbell close? It's like working out how much air you're going to be able to get into your lungs to be able to do this next movement. Whereas in that kilo section, you've got that hour now where you can just focus on making that improvement, and then the barbell efficiency goes better. You're not off balance as you're moving the barbell, so therefore you're also not losing energy through just like being unstable.
Yeah.
And then put those into your workout. And on the outside, it's been really, really fun building. We can get bench press at the kilo now. That's class.
Yeah.
Like anytime you can start to use some bench into a workout, it's a good time.
Something we probably don't think about as much as just general people's peaks and troughs of motivation. So if you think some days you just do not want to come in and feel your lungs about to fall out your chest because you're riding your assault bike and doing burpees and all that stuff, sometimes you just want to have a little bit more of a lower heart rate, a technical session. Like there's no emphasis in the kilo classes to go massively heavy. It's just it can be like we say, like a skill acquisition session, or you can improve your strength and kind of push those numbers up, but at least you've got the daily choice to go, I fancy doing some weightlifting, I fancy doing some more cardiovascular focused session. And I think over your training lifetime, if you've got less missed days due to like having that choice, you're going to be a better athlete at the end of it, aren't you? Which is good. It's good.
It's been interesting to see how other people have used it. I know there's a few people who have been interested in the competition side. They've been coming to things like the snatch sessions because that's maybe something it's obviously an incredibly technically precise lift. So they've been hammering those on the lead up to some competitions because they know that like maybe the heavy snatch movement is going to be in there, and it's not something that they maybe get exposed to as much of. And obviously the improvements that they've been making on that has been massive.
Look at it in the past, if we even had like the most thorough, succinct, amazing programming in the previous like strength plus conditioning format that we used to have, you're probably still only going to hit a snatch purist like snatch movement once every, I don't know, you could say between like 8 and 12 weeks for like that movement in its purest form. So say, and it was only for like 15 minutes. Now once a week you're going to get a full hour dose of that if you choose to do that class, and the amount of exposure you get into the repetitions is just massively increased, and that's why we see people's weightlifting improving. I mean, I was in the 7 a.m. session today, and the way people were moving around on those platforms was just mind-blowing, and it's not smoke and mirrors, is it? It's just people are having more exposures over a longer period and they get better. If you look at the professional side, like the higher levels of sort of CrossFit competition, sanctionals, all that stuff, if you look at Matt Fraser's session, he's probably going to stick an hour or two of his purist strength training. He's not going to cram in an hour of like 15 minutes. Probably not going to feel that warm in 15 minutes. And he can snatch 137 or whatever he snatches.
that tends to be exactly that. A lot of the top level athletes, I think, whilst watching a documentary about the Rogue Black team, this would be a good few years ago, there was a cameraman or one of the sound crew that commented on how frustrating it was to go and film. It was a pleasure, but at the same time frustrating to go and have to film the likes of Rich Froning and some of the top athletes, because they took in excess of 45 minutes to get warm to do anything. So to expect those guys to perform at their level with a 45-minute workout, even if we come down to our mere mortal level here, that to get people up to speed and warm, to then move a barbell that's at a high percentage of their ability, and then put in a conditioning piece where you're going to probably add at least another one, possibly two movements that you've got to get them warm for and prepared for. There's a lot going on within a 60-minute session there for people to be progressing or to be getting a lot out of. So to have this split, to start getting a little bit more time doing specific movements and breaking them down, I think that's where we're seeing the big steps forward for people technically.
Yeah, you can hone in as well. I think having the advantage of seeing where the sessions are going to fall and they're going to be stuck in that format, you can hone in on something. So snatch and raise now I'm going to improve on. So if I want to do my conditioning, I know I'm going to do that on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then my kilo sections there on the Wednesday, and I can plan my sort of week accordingly because of that.
Or if you don't want to do any cardio, you can just do kilo 5 times a week and try and get as strong as possible and avoid breathing heavily.
You're not going to carry us in the conditioning.
So if you've got any questions about kilo, kinetic or method training, or any of the other questions you might have about the facility, get in touch, admin@methodtraining-training.co.uk, and we'll call it there.